Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that might just turn everything you thought you knew on its head. We were going to explore a controversial idea. What if the Jesus we know is not the whole story? What if his original message was so radical, so profoundly different, that it had to be, shall we say, reinterpreted by the powers that be? Get ready, because we're talking about the real Jesus and his connection to something called Gnosticism. Now, before you click away, hear me out. This isn't about disrespecting anyone's beliefs. It's about exploring history and different perspectives that shaped early Christianity. Imagine a time when there wasn't just one version of Christianity, but many vibrant, diverse groups, each interpreting Jesus' teachings in their own way. Among them were the Gnostics. The word Gnosticism comes from gnosis, which means knowledge, but not just any knowledge. We're talking about secret, inner, spiritual knowledge. Gnostics believed that within each of us lies a divine spark, a piece of the divine, and that the path to true liberation was through awakening this inner spark. This was a profoundly personal and empowering message. It suggested that true connection to the divine didn't depend on external rituals, grand temples, or even intermediaries. It was all about an inner journey, a personal revelation. And here's where it gets really interesting. Gnostics often viewed the material world, the physical world we inhabit, as flawed, created by a lesser god, or demiurge, rather than the ultimate, true God. So Jesus, to them, wasn't just a savior who died for sins. He was a spiritual revealer, a guide who came to wake us up to this inner truth to help us escape the illusions of the material world and remember our divine origin. Now, contrast that with another emerging branch of Christianity, often called proto-Orthodox Christianity. This group, heavily influenced by figures like Paul, began to emphasize a different narrative. They focused on Jesus' death and resurrection as the ultimate act of redemption from sin, establishing a pathway to salvation through faith and adherence to specific doctrines. This movement also started to centralize authority, envisioning a unified church structure with clear leadership and consistent teachings. Can you see the tension building? On one side, a spiritual path emphasizing individual inner enlightenment and questioning the very nature of the material world. On the other, a burgeoning institution emphasizing external worship, shared doctrines, and a centralized authority. The Gnostic message of inner awakening was deeply empowering, but it also posed a direct challenge to any system seeking to control or mediate access to the divine. If everyone had direct access to God through gnosis, what need was there for an elaborate church hierarchy? As Christianity grew and solidified into an organized religion, the need for unity and control became paramount. The teachings that supported a centralized church and a clear, publicly accessible doctrine began to take precedence. And unfortunately, those alternative perspectives like Gnosticism, which questioned the authority of the church, the nature of God as solely the creator of the material world, and even the sanctity of that world began to be seen as problematic, even dangerous. So, what happened? The institutional church, in its efforts to create a unified faith and consolidate both religious and political power, began to suppress Gnostic texts and teachings. They were labeled heretical, marginalized, and their messages deliberately obscured. The focus shifted dramatically. Jesus was redefined primarily as the divine Son of God who died to save sinners, and the pathway to salvation became firmly rooted in the Church's teachings and sacraments. The inner, mystical knowledge Jesus might have originally imparted, focusing on personal spiritual enlightenment, was sidelined in favor of a more hierarchical, accessible, and controllable narrative. This wasn't an accidental oversight. It was a deliberate process of shaping a faith. The erasure, if you will, served to maintain the Church's dominance and control over believers. The revolutionary aspects of Jesus' teachings, his potential role as a Gnostic teacher revealing the divine light within each person, were obscured. Instead, the focus moved from direct personal spiritual knowledge to institutionalized dogma and faith in external salvation. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if the historical Jesus was not meant to be the founder of modern Christianity as we know it, but rather a profound spiritual figure whose teachings were adapted, altered, and in some ways redefined to fit a specific institutional agenda? This transformation fundamentally shifted the religious landscape, moving the emphasis from individual inner transformation to a structured, externalized faith. It's a fascinating thought experiment, and it opens up so many questions about history, power, and spirituality. Understanding these alternative perspectives isn't about dismissing what we know, but enriching our understanding of a complex past. What do you think about this perspective? Have you encountered Gnosticism before? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploration, and I'll see you next time.